right, hello everybody. About to do some painting today. See if anybody shows up. I'm going to get right into the painting. I already have it. Here's my little setup. I've just got a 4-inch roller and my brush. So it looks like the paint will be Pashmina, Benjamin Moore, and that is AF 100. So that's what I'll be using. So I'm going to be all the trim and baseboards will be this Pashmina, the AF 100, and this right here will be the walls, and that's Sparrow. I think that was sitting around close. So the Sparrow is AF 720. Experimented around, those are how I did my samples. So I did my samples comparing a lot of different colors. I painted over this through here, looked like that with different colors. So I ended up narrowing it down to 2 I liked with this outer one. I checked with my dad, he was thinking the same with this for the walls, the Sparrow. And so we both like the Sparrow, Benjamin Moore, and then the two I had it narrowed down to was these. And so I did a little vote with a few people, and all three preferred this Pashmina. P-A-S-H-M-I-N-A. Yeah, Pashmina. So that's what we're going with. I think that's all. I'm going to adjust the camera and move in closer. Get started. The paint's already in the pan. Hey, how's it going, Monica? Thanks for stopping in. About to do some painting. Still on my first week live streaming, so still pretty new to this. Thanks for stopping in. Subscribe. I do a lot of different projects. So, hey UFO. Yeah, right now I'm just showing how I experimented with different samples. So I bought a lot of these different samples to narrow down, well, which paints I'm going with. So if you just jumped on here and missed it, you want to go with the Sparrow here and the Pashmina here. They're both Benjamin Moore. So I've got my paint already in the pan, and paint's already in the pan, so I'm going to get started here. I actually plan to come up and start taping off the window. I don't know if you can see on the window, but the last person that painted didn't tape off, so I'm just not going to. I'll take a razor blade to it when I'm done. So these windows will be, I'd say in the next year or two, getting ripped out. All the baseboards, everything I'm about to paint with this Pashmina is getting ripped out. So I'm going to take pride in it, but I'm not going to go overboard. It's all going to get ripped out and wood stain, wood grain like so. Thanks for stopping in, everybody. The numbers just dropped. Looked like I had about 11, it dropped down to 2, so. It's usually how it is. I'm still in my first week, so to share any experience, what I've seen in the past week, that's pretty normal. People don't really stick around yet, so that's fine. Subscribe if you're new. I get on here quite a bit. I do a lot of different stuff, though. Different projects, more handyman style, just do it yourself. So I'm going to get right into it. Start cutting in the windows, and I'll be razor blading these, so not too worried about getting it on the window. And like I said, this will be getting ripped out and completely replaced in the next, I'd say in the next, if not next year, the year after for sure. These windows need replaced big time, so. Razor blade should work pretty good. I have blinds on these too, so. Normally I put some type of motivational on if nobody's speaking in the chat, so I'll probably get one of those playing here in a few minutes. I wish we could play music, but they copyrighted me already for doing some stuff on my laptop, so I gotta avoid the copyright strikes. Yeah, I had the tape. I moved it over there. I had the tape ready. I was going to take these windows off, and then once I took the blinds off and realized there's paint all over them anyway, I'm just going to razor blade the paint when it dries and get that. I like the little 4.5 inch roller. That's what I like to use to roll stuff with, so I can get some working on the roller. So, I'll do a good job, like I said, but not, for one, it's my place, so I know the long-term plan. It's not like it's a paid job for somebody. I still, it's mine, so I like to do a good job. But how's everybody doing? If anybody's in the chat, feel free to talk. I don't mind. Painting's a lot easier to stop and talk to people. When I was working the joint compound, I had to keep moving. Especially with that fast setting mud, it starts to set pretty quick, so. No real strategy, just working it in, and it'll all close in pretty quick. I guess that most of this will get 2 coats from what I saw with my samples. It didn't really cover the best, so. It's already starting to look better. Pretty excited to get this project, for the most part, complete. Should wrap up the painting over the weekend. Definitely probably going to get 2 coats. This is a little bit thicker nap on the mini roller. Still not completely covering it like I want, so. Covering as much as I can with the roller, and then I'll come back with the brush and start working it over. I appreciate anybody that stops in. I know this isn't the most exciting thing to watch on YouTube, especially live stream. I'm not worried about getting this on the wall because once I have this, all the framing, baseboards, trim, painted, I'll take those off and protect them, and then I'll get through the walls pretty quick like that. Yep, dropped down to one person, so I'm going to turn the motivational on.
Think about it. Those initial moments when consciousness returns, what do you do with them? Do you immediately reach for your phone, allowing the world's chaos to flood your mind before you've even had a chance to set your own intentions? Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share might completely transform how you start each day. The power of your
Cutting in right now.
thoughts is far greater than most people realize. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up already feeling behind, already feeling stressed, and that energy seems to follow you throughout the entire day. It's not coincidence, it's causation. And Neville Goddard understood this profound truth decades before modern psychology caught up. The reality we experience isn't random or accidental. It's a direct reflection of the thoughts we consistently entertain and the actions those thoughts inspire. This isn't just motivational fluff, it's the fundamental law that governs our existence. Every circumstance, every relationship, every achievement or disappointment can be traced back to the mental seeds we've planted. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the globe. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification. Well, so you don't miss any of our future videos. What makes the morning so critical is that your mind is in its most receptive state. The subconscious, which has been active all night, is still accessible in those first waking moments. It's like having direct access to your mental operating system before all the applications and notifications start running. The most successful people throughout history have understood this principle. They don't begin their day by absorbing external influences. Instead, they establish their own voice first. They speak strength and intention into existence before the world has a chance to tell them who they should be. When you stand up and speak power into your morning before touching your device, you're making a profound statement. I am the architect of this day, not its victim. The world isn't just passively waiting for you, it's actively watching to see how you'll show up. And deep down, you know you weren't born to blend in with the masses. You were built to break limits. Think about this. Everything you touch, everything you achieve, and yes, everything you fail to reach is simply a reflection of the thoughts you've allowed to take root and the actions you've chosen to take. Your life isn't determined by luck or fate. It's the culmination of decisions stacked upon decisions, built by the beliefs you enforce in your mind and the habits you carry through your day. What if the first thing you did tomorrow morning was to declare with absolute certainty, my thoughts are the blueprints for my future? Because the hidden truth is that nothing about your future is predetermined unless you write it yourself. Every single thought you entertain is like a seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. When you wake up and immediately allow doubt, fear, or limitation to enter your mental space, you're essentially empowering weakness. You're giving it permission to construct your day. But there's a profound transformation that occurs when you consciously feed your mind strength, vision, and crystal clear intention. You begin to forge a mindset that doesn't just survive, it builds empires. If you found value in these morning declarations, hit that subscribe button now and join our community of intentional thinkers who are transforming their lives one morning at a time. This journey isn't about massive overnight changes. The real power lies in those small, precise mental victories you win every single morning. Your destiny isn't shaped through one dramatic leap, but through daily mental discipline that compounds over time. It's the quiet decision to override the negative thought before it takes root. It's the commitment to replace I can't with I already am. Behind the scenes of every great achievement is this fundamental truth. When you consistently tell yourself you are focused, you literally become focused. When you repeatedly affirm that you are powerful, your actions begin to align with that declaration. This isn't some mystical revelation. It's simply cause and effect operating at the level of your consciousness. The mind doesn't argue with what you repeatedly declare. It doesn't question your internal narrative. It simply accepts it, absorbs it, and begins to enforce it. That's the impact of consistent morning affirmations. Once your mind accepts strength as your default state, your actions follow without hesitation or doubt. That's when real results appear. That's when genuine transformation begins. And here's what most people miss about this process. It works from the inside out, not the outside in. Most people make the critical mistake of waiting for external circumstances to change before they adjust their internal dialogue. They say, when I get the promotion, then I'll feel confident, or once I have more money, then I'll feel abundant. But this approach has the sequence backward. Now, I want to go deeper into understanding how this mental discipline creates a foundation for everything else in your life. The decisions you make in those first waking moments ripple throughout your entire day. They determine not just how you feel, but how you interpret events, how you respond to challenges, and ultimately, the results you create. Remember, this isn't about denying reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about establishing your mental framework before engaging with whatever the day brings. It's about creating an internal environment where solutions can flourish and obstacles can be transformed into stepping stones. If any of this resonates with your own morning experience, write Blueprints Activated in the comments below. What makes this morning practice so powerful is understanding a fundamental principle about your consciousness. Your mind accepts and enforces what you repeatedly declare. Think of your mind as the most sophisticated computer ever created, constantly running programs in the background. The difference? You get to write the code through your consistent declarations. The remarkable revelation here is that your mind doesn't argue with these declarations, it simply absorbs them. There's no committee inside your head debating whether you're truly confident or capable. When you consistently affirm something with conviction, your subconscious mind begins integrating it as truth. This is the invisible architecture of transformation. Once your mind accepts strength as your default state, not as something you need to achieve, but as something you already are, your actions naturally align without hesitation or second guessing. Your decisions become more decisive, your responses more assured, and your overall presence more magnetic. All because you've reprogrammed the internal operating system that governs everything you do. The journey from intention to manifestation follows this precise sequence. Repeated declaration leads to subconscious acceptance, which creates new neural pathways, which then guide your actions and decisions automatically. This is how change happens from the inside out, rather than waiting for external circumstances to shift. At the core of this practice is a profound awakening. This life is yours to build or break. Most people live as though they're passengers in their own story, waiting for motivation to strike like lightning or luck to change their circumstances. But the mindset masters throughout history, from philosophers to entrepreneurs to spiritual leaders, understood a crucial distinction. They didn't wait for the perfect moment or the right feeling to take action. Instead, they reminded themselves daily that they controlled their direction through their thoughts. This isn't merely positive thinking, it's strategic mental conditioning. Every great builder, every visionary leader, every pioneer who redefined what's possible became what they consistently told themselves they already were. Consider the implications of this understanding. If you wake up every morning and declare with unwavering certainty, I'm disciplined, focused, and unstoppable, your mind begins constructing evidence to support this reality. It filters your experiences through this lens, highlighting opportunities that align with this declaration, while minimizing distractions that don't. The essence of personal sovereignty lies in this daily practice, the conscious decision to author your own narrative, rather than inheriting someone else's script. When you declare, "This life is mine," you're not making a statement of ownership as much as accepting a responsibility of authorship. If this concept of mental conditioning speaks to you on a deeper level, type "I am the author" in the comments below. Now I want to explore the second powerful morning declaration that can fundamentally reshape your day. Discipline is my language. Vision is my compass. This perspective shifts your entire approach to communication, both with yourself and with the world around you. When you truly understand the architecture of achievement, you realize that the words you use aren't just descriptive, they're creative. They literally shape your reality. This is why speaking power into your life becomes non-negotiable. Notice the difference in energy between saying, "I'll try to finish this project," versus "I will complete this project." Feel the vibrational shift between "maybe things will work out" and "it's already mine, I just need to claim it." This isn't mere semantics, it's the backbone of manifestation. The universe doesn't respond to hesitation, it responds to declaration. When you reject weak language like "maybe," "hopefully," or "I'll try," you're not just changing your vocabulary, you're rewiring your neural pathways to expect success rather than question it. Subscribe to the channel right now if you're ready to take your morning mindset to the next level and receive more powerful insights that can change the trajectory of your life. Behind every breakthrough lies this revelation. What you consistently declare becomes your default reality. But here's where many stumble on their journey. They mistake declaration for completion. The watershed moment in personal development comes when you understand that speaking power means nothing without aligned action. Action is the true test of belief. If I claim to want greatness, but my daily habits reflect laziness, I'm not just failing to achieve, I'm lying to myself. This internal incongruence creates a spiritual friction that manifests as anxiety, procrastination, and self-doubt. The master key to inner peace is simple but demanding. Make your speech and steps align perfectly. What you think determines where you go, but what you do determines what you become. This isn't philosophy, it's practical psychology. When your thoughts and actions are in harmony, you experience a state of flow that eliminates internal resistance. Suddenly, discipline doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like alignment. The revelation that transformed my own journey was recognizing that there's no room for excuses in the economy of achievement. Every moment spent justifying inaction is a moment stolen from your potential. Every distraction entertained is energy diverted from your vision. When you declare discipline is my language, you're making a commitment to ruthless honesty about where your time and focus are truly going. Your morning declaration becomes a benchmark against which you measure each decision throughout your day. Does this action align with what I claimed this morning? This simple question becomes a powerful filter that eliminates countless distractions and time wasters from your life. The master practitioners of this approach understand that discipline isn't just about doing difficult things. It's about speaking a language of certainty and then letting your actions provide the translation. It's about refusing to negotiate with the part of you that prefers comfort over growth. If you recognize this principle at work in your own life, type language aligned in the comments below. When we pair discipline as our language with vision as our compass, we discover a profound truth about time itself. All you ever truly have is this moment. The past exists only in memory, the future only in imagination, but the present moment, this is where your power lives. This is why one of the most transformative morning declarations is simply, I own the present moment. Completely. While you can't change yesterday, its mistakes and missed opportunities are sealed, and you can't guarantee tomorrow. You can absolutely own the now. This perspective shift creates an immediate sense of agency. Rather than being pulled into regrets about the past or anxieties about the future, you plant your consciousness firmly in the only moment where change is possible. The revelation that has liberated countless lives is this. By taking ownership of enough present moments, you eventually own your future. It's not some mystical process. It's the natural accumulation of intentional decisions made in real time. Every time you fully engage with the task at hand, every time you refuse to let your mind wander into unproductive territories, you're crafting your reality brick by brick. This mindset eliminates the victim narrative that keeps so many people trapped. You're not helplessly responding to circumstances beyond your control. You're actively creating outcomes through your present awareness and choices. The victimhood mentality waits for conditions to change. The creator mindset changes conditions through present moment mastery. This brings us to another crucial morning declaration that dismantles one of the greatest obstacles to achievement. I face fear rather than obeying it. When you examine the architecture of most unfulfilled lives, you'll find fear as the primary building material. Not because fear itself is so powerful, but because of how people relate to it. The breakthrough insight is this: fear only has power when you submit to it. It's not the presence of fear that determines your outcomes, it's your response to it. Victims wait for fear to subside before taking action. Builders act while fear is still present, understanding that action itself is the antidote. When you challenge fear directly, something remarkable happens. It shrinks. When you push through it repeatedly, it eventually dies. Behind the scenes of every extraordinary accomplishment is this simple truth. The person wasn't fearless. They just refused to be fear's servant. They recognized that the sensation of fear is just information, not a command to retreat. This perspective transforms fear from a barrier into a compass, pointing precisely toward the growth your soul is seeking. Success isn't reserved for the naturally talented, the extraordinarily lucky, or the uniquely privileged. It's earned by those who have mastered their relationship with fear, the focused, the relentless, the self-directed. These individuals don't experience less fear. They've simply developed a different relationship with it. They see fear as the price of admission to an extraordinary life, not a reason to remain ordinary. This journey of facing fear, rather than obeying it, creates a momentum that transforms your entire being. Each time you move toward what frightens you, you reinforce the identity of someone who isn't ruled by comfort, but guided by purpose. If you've experienced the liberation that comes from facing your fears directly, share Fear Faced in the comments below. Let me take you deeper into the practical application of this morning mindset. When you declare discipline is my language, you naturally begin building habits that perfectly align with your vision. This alignment creates an unstoppable momentum in your life. Most people make a fundamental error in their approach to achievement. They try to transform their bodies before training their minds, chase external goals before sharpening their internal focus. The master insight that creates sustainable transformation is this sequence. Train your mind first, then your body will follow. Sharpen your thoughts first, and your goals will materialize almost effortlessly. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the blueprint followed by every person who has achieved extraordinary results. The inner landscape always precedes and determines the outer reality. What separates the exceptional from the average isn't talent or opportunity. It's this profound shift in perception, viewing obstacles not as barriers, but as catalysts for growth. When challenges arise, most people ask, why is this happening to me? But those who have mastered the morning mindset ask, what is this trying to teach me? This subtle reframing changes everything. The obstacles aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. Every setback, every unexpected difficulty contains within it the seeds of an equivalent or greater benefit, but only for those who have trained themselves to see it. Your morning declaration conditions your mind to automatically search for the opportunity hidden within every challenge, rather than being defeated by its appearance. This brings us to perhaps the most liberating morning declaration. I am led by purpose, not feelings. Think about how many decisions you've postponed or abandoned simply because you didn't feel like it in the moment. The breakthrough realization is that your feelings are unreliable guides. They fluctuate based on countless variables, from sleep quality to blood sugar to social media consumption. When you decide to be led by purpose rather than feelings, you establish an unwavering North Star that guides your actions regardless of emotional weather. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or denying their importance. It means refusing to let them dictate your choices. It means understanding the pivotal distinction between acknowledging emotions and surrendering to them. The revelation that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary journeys is learning to convert pressure into performance. Most people break under pressure. They see it as something to avoid. But pressure, properly understood, is simply energy that needs direction. When channeled correctly, it becomes the fuel for exceptional achievement rather than the cause of breakdown. The mastery of this principle requires moving with intent regardless of mood. On days when motivation is high, you execute. On days when motivation is nowhere to be found, you still execute, because you're guided by something far more reliable than fleeting emotional states. Your reality ultimately responds not to hope or wishes, but to command, to clear, decisive action taken despite emotional resistance. If you've experienced the power of being guided by purpose rather than feelings, share purpose-driven in the comments section. The ultimate morning declaration that anchors all the others is, I take full responsibility as the architect of my life. This is where the transformation truly begins. The moment you stop outsourcing accountability for your circumstances and claim complete ownership of your journey. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that you don't need permission to rise or approval to build your vision. Most people live in a perpetual waiting state, waiting for validation, waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for someone to notice their potential. But the architects of extraordinary lives recognize a fundamental truth. The only ingredients necessary for transformation are the discipline to tell yourself the truth and the courage to live as if it's already real. This perspective shift creates an immediate sense of sovereignty. You stop being a passive observer of your life and step fully into the role of creator. The blueprint isn't handed to you, you design it. The materials aren't provided, you gather them. The construction timeline isn't set by others, you establish it. This responsibility might initially feel heavy, but it's actually the lightest burden you'll ever carry because it eliminates the weight of victimhood completely. Now, I want to introduce you to the third powerful morning declaration that builds upon this foundation. Today is my opportunity to dominate, not hesitate. This mindset revolutionizes how you approach each day from the moment you open your eyes. Instead of viewing mornings as simple restarts or blank slates, you recognize them as proving grounds, opportunities to demonstrate commitment to the vision you've established. The hidden truth that separates extraordinary achievers from everyone else is understanding that hesitation is the silent killer of dreams. One pause, one delay, one moment of indecision can cost you momentum that might take days to rebuild. Most people don't fail because of lack of ability. They fail because they hesitate at critical junctures where decisive action would have carried them forward. When you declare each morning as a proving ground, you enter the day with a completely different energy. You're not just going through motions, you're actively demonstrating who you are through immediate, purposeful action. While others spend their mornings in indecision, scrolling through distractions, or delaying important work, you move with precision and intention from the first moment. This isn't about being busy, it's about being deliberate. The revelation that transformed countless journeys is understanding that when you bend your will to the day will bend to your will. This isn't mystical thinking. It's the natural consequence of directing your focus and energy with such clarity that resistance naturally diminishes. Behind every extraordinary achievement is this simple truth. The day responds not to intentions but to actions. Hesitation surrenders your power, while immediate execution claims it. Those first minutes after waking are when you establish whether you'll be the architect of the day or merely its inhabitant. If you've experienced the power of treating each morning as a proving ground, share architect mode in the comments below. When we embrace each morning as a proving ground, we naturally shift our focus away from external competition to the only contest that truly matters. The gap between who you are today and who you could become. This represents a profound paradigm shift in how we measure success. Most people exhaust themselves trying to outperform others, constantly looking sideways instead of forward. They celebrate when someone else fails, rather than when they themselves grow. But the morning declaration, I compete with my potential, not with others, liberates you from this exhausting comparison trap. it redirects your energy toward the most worthy adversary you'll ever face, your untapped capacity. This isn't about ignoring what others accomplish. It's about recognizing that their journey isn't yours. Their pace isn't yours. Their destination isn't yours. The breakthrough insight that transforms ordinary achievers into extraordinary ones is this: what others do is fundamentally irrelevant to your personal evolution. When you wake up declaring that you compete only with your potential, you enter a realm where external validation loses its power. You're no longer derailed by others' opinions or accomplishments because your measuring stick is internal. It's the gap between your current self and your possible self. This perspective creates a profound sense of sovereignty over your journey. You don't need to wait for others to fail for you to succeed. You don't need to diminish others' light to make yours shine brighter. You simply need to focus relentlessly on fulfilling your own commitments day after day, regardless of what anyone else is doing. The revelation that accompanies this mindset is understanding that I refuse to let time pass while sitting in indecision. Most people don't realize how much of their precious life energy evaporates in the limbo of indecision. They contemplate, analyze, weigh options, seek opinions, and ultimately delay action until the window of opportunity has closed. When you declare each morning that action is power and hesitation is surrender, you create an internal environment that naturally favors decisive movement. You recognize that the clock ticks whether you move or not, and you refuse to surrender those irreplaceable moments to paralysis. The hidden truth behind every meaningful breakthrough is this: motivation is a myth when treated as a prerequisite for action. Waiting to feel motivated before taking action is like waiting for the tide to rise before learning to swim. The masters of morning mindset understand that you must train your mind to act regardless of feelings, especially when you don't want to. This is where the real edge is built. Not in the moments when action feels easy and natural, but precisely in those moments when every fiber of your being resists movement. When you push through that resistance, you're not just accomplishing a task, you're forging an identity. You're becoming someone who acts despite emotional weather, not because of it. If you've experienced the power of pushing through resistance when you least felt like taking action, type "resistance conquered" in the comments below. This mindset of action over hesitation naturally leads to one of the most powerful declarations you can make each morning. While others overthink, I execute. This statement creates an immediate competitive advantage in a world paralyzed by analysis. Most people get caught in what psychologists call the overthinking trap, a cycle where excessive analysis becomes a substitute for actual progress. The revelation that separates extraordinary achievers from everyone else is understanding that clarity comes from action, not contemplation. You don't think your way to crystal clear vision, you act your way there. Each step reveals the next step in a way that no amount of planning ever could. While the masses are scrolling through endless content, you're sharpening your skills. While they're wishing for different circumstances, you're working to create them. The transformation occurs when you recognize that every single move you make must bring you measurably closer to your vision. This doesn't mean blind action, it means strategic execution. You're not just busy, you're productive in the direction of your highest priorities. This distinction creates a filter through which you evaluate every potential action. Does this move me closer to where I'm going, or is it just motion without progress? Behind the scenes of every breakthrough achievement is this fundamental truth. Domination doesn't mean doing more things, it means doing what matters with absolute power. Most people disperse their energy across dozens of tasks, feeling productive while actually diluting their impact. True domination comes from laser focus on the vital few actions that create disproportionate results. The paradigm shift that creates extraordinary outcomes is learning to eliminate distractions and weak thoughts before they can take root. This preemptive mental discipline is what sets apart the elite performers in any field. They don't just manage distractions, they actively hunt them down and eliminate them before they can hijack attention. They don't try to resist weak thoughts once they've taken hold. They install mental filters that prevent those thoughts from gaining traction in the first place. This approach to domination requires a level of mental clarity that most never develop. It means having the courage to say no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great ones. It means understanding that your energy is finite and treating it as your most precious resource. It means recognizing that in a world of endless notifications and interruptions, the ability to maintain focused attention is perhaps the ultimate competitive advantage. When you declare each morning that domination means doing what matters with power, you're committing to a completely different standard of performance. You're rejecting the modern addiction to busyness in favor of the timeless pursuit of mastery. You're choosing depth over breadth, impact over impression, and results over activity. This mindset creates a profound shift in how you experience your day. Instead of feeling scattered and overwhelmed by endless tasks, you move with singular purpose through the vital few actions that actually move the needle. If you felt the difference between busy work and focused power, type precision over volume in the comments below. This precise focus on what truly matters reveals another transformative morning declaration. I am the force and the push I've been waiting for. This statement confronts one of the most common delusions that keeps people stuck. The belief that motivation, opportunity, or success will arrive from some external source. The awakening that changes everything is realizing that you are simultaneously the seeker and the solution. Most people exist in a perpetual waiting state, waiting for the perfect mentor, the right opportunity, the ideal circumstances, or that mythical burst of sustained motivation. But behind the scenes of every extraordinary journey is this revelation. You've been waiting for something that was always inside you. You are both the sign and the catalyst you've been seeking. The world operates according to immutable laws. It doesn't respond to wishes, hopes, or intentions. It moves exclusively for those who apply force through consistent, focused action. It yields only to those who refuse to stay still. When you declare each morning that you are the force you've been waiting for, you eliminate the dependency on external factors that keeps most people permanently stalled. This perspective creates an immediate shift in your relationship with time. Instead of waiting for conditions to align perfectly before taking action, you recognize that your movement itself creates the conditions. Your action generates the momentum that makes everything else possible. The inspiration doesn't come first. It follows decisive movement. This naturally leads to another powerful morning declaration. I don't wait for perfection. I move, adjust, and improve on the way. The liberation in this mindset is understanding that opportunities rarely arrive at convenient moments. They don't wait patiently for you to feel completely ready. The window opens briefly, and those who hesitate because of imperfect conditions miss it entirely. The breakthrough insight that separates extraordinary achievers from the masses is learning to act without delay, then adjust and refine while in motion. Imagine trying to steer a stationary car. It's impossible. The steering only works when the vehicle is moving. The same principle applies to your journey. Clarity comes through action, not before it. This approach requires embracing a fundamentally different relationship with failure and difficulty. When you fall, you don't question your path or ability. You simply get up. When the challenge intensifies, you don't retreat. You get harder, matching and exceeding the resistance. When progress feels slower than expected, you don't become discouraged. You push faster, understanding that pace is adjustable through effort. The revelation that transforms ordinary journeys into extraordinary odysseys is this: no resistance, no obstacle, no challenge can outlast a truly relentless spirit. It's not about having more resources than others. It's about becoming more resourceful. It's not about avoiding difficulties. It's about developing the resilience to move through them with unwavering determination. If you've experienced moments where you stopped waiting and became the force in your own life, share self-propelled in the comments below. Now I want to introduce you to our fourth powerful morning declaration that builds upon everything we've explored so far. I am unstoppable when I decide to be. This mindset transcends mere motivation. It's about making an irrevocable inner decision that fundamentally changes how you navigate the world. When you embody this declaration, you naturally carry a presence that comes from knowing your purpose. This presence isn't manufactured. It's the authentic radiation of someone who has achieved internal clarity. Most people enter rooms seeking validation, approval, or attention from others. But there's a profound energetic shift when you walk in carrying the certainty of your purpose. The revelation that transforms how others perceive you is this: confidence doesn't come from seeking attention, but from absolute clarity about who you are and what you're building. People can sense the difference between someone who needs external validation and someone who is internally anchored. This presence isn't about dominating conversations or demanding recognition. It's about the quiet certainty that emanates from someone who knows exactly where they're headed. This perspective creates a liberation from one of the most common traps: the tendency to diminish yourself to make others comfortable. Most people unconsciously shrink their light, dampen their enthusiasm, or soften their ambitions to avoid triggering insecurity in others. But when you declare each morning that you carry purpose-driven presence, you give yourself permission to shine at full wattage, understanding that your authentic power isn't a threat, but an inspiration. The breakthrough insight that changes how you interact with the world is understanding that true domination means total control over myself. Most people misunderstand domination as control over external circumstances or other people. But the masters of morning mindset recognize that the only domain you can truly control is your internal landscape, your reactions, your discipline, and your consistency. This shift creates an immediate sense of sovereignty. Instead of being ruled by moods, external triggers, or temporary emotions, you're governed exclusively by mission. You don't negotiate with the part of yourself that prefers comfort over growth. You don't make excuses when you feel tired or unmotivated. You recognize that being ruled by fleeting emotions is the ultimate surrender of power. The transformation occurs when you understand that self-mastery is the foundation for everything else you want to achieve. Every external result, from physical fitness to financial success to relationship quality, is ultimately a reflection of your relationship with yourself. When you declare each morning that you are ruled by mission rather than moods, you elevate your standard for internal consistency to a level most never reach. If you've experienced moments where your unwavering decision created unstoppable momentum, share "decision made" in the comments below. This inner decision to be unstoppable naturally leads to a profound realization about authorship. I hold the pen that writes my story. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. It's a fundamental truth about human potential. Every moment presents a crossroads between hesitation and action. If you hesitate, the page of your life stays blank, filled with possibilities, but empty of actual experience. But when you take decisive action, you begin filling those pages with a legacy that extends far beyond your physical presence. The watershed moment in personal development comes when you truly internalize that you're not just a character in someone else's narrative. You're the primary author of your own. Most people unconsciously surrender the pen to external influences, societal expectations, others' opinions, or random circumstances. But the revelation that changes everything is recognizing your absolute authority over the story you're creating. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you approach daily decisions. You're no longer simply responding to what happens. You're actively creating what happens next. You're not here to observe life or comment on it. You're here to make your mark through tangible results and unwavering discipline. The blank page isn't intimidating, it's inviting. It's the canvas awaiting your unique expression. The journey of authorship requires understanding that meaning isn't found, it's made. Purpose isn't discovered like a hidden treasure. It's forged through consistent intentional action. When you declare each morning that you hold the pen, you accept both the freedom and responsibility that comes with creating your narrative. This naturally connects to another powerful morning declaration. A stronger version of me awaits at the end of today's road. This mindset creates an immediate sense of possibility and direction. Most people view each day as an isolated unit, a standalone experience with little connection to their overall trajectory. But the breakthrough insight is recognizing that every single day is actually a bridge connecting your current self to your potential self. The transformation occurs when you understand that every choice you make either brings you closer to your potential or pushes you further away. There is no neutral position. Each action, each decision, each moment of focus or distraction is literally a vote for the person you want to become. The masters of morning mindset recognize that identity isn't static. It's constantly being shaped by these accumulated decisions. This perspective creates an entirely different relationship with daily choices. That extra rep in the gym isn't just about physical fitness, it's a vote for discipline. That moment of choosing focused work over distraction isn't just about productivity, it's a vote for mastery. That difficult conversation you don't avoid isn't just about resolving conflict, it's a vote for courage. You begin to see every action through the lens of identity formation. If you've experienced the powerful realization that your daily choices are literally creating your future self, share Identity Architect in the comments below. This identity-focused approach leads naturally to the declaration, I build, push, lead, and sharpen because today is mine. This statement represents a fundamental reclamation of your time and energy. Most people begin their days in a reactive state, responding to notifications, scrolling through social media, or immediately diving into others' demands. But the transformative insight is recognizing that these precious morning hours represent your greatest opportunity for strategic advancement. The awakening that changes everything is understanding that today, this specific day with its unique opportunities, belongs exclusively to you. It's not owned by your employer, your social media accounts, or even your loved ones. While you may choose to dedicate portions of it to various responsibilities, the fundamental ownership remains yours. This perspective creates an immediate sense of sovereignty over how you allocate your most precious resource, your time. When you declare each morning that today is yours, you naturally become more discerning about what you allow into your mental and physical space. You stop wasting those golden morning hours on aimless activities or distractions that drain your energy without moving you forward. You take complete ownership of your schedule and refuse to surrender it to weakness, distraction, or the urgent but unimportant demands that constantly arise. This ownership mindset reveals perhaps the most powerful aspect of morning declarations. Nothing can hold me back once I fully commit. The revelation that transforms ordinary journeys into extraordinary odysseys is understanding the profound difference between partial and complete commitment. Most people live in the purgatory of maybe. They're interested in success but not committed to it. They want results but leave room for retreat. The watershed moment occurs when you flip that internal switch from maybe to must. In that moment, everything changes. The doubts that previously paralyzed you don't disappear. They simply lose their influence over your decisions. The distractions that previously derailed you don't vanish. They just lose their power to pull you off course. The fears that kept you playing small don't evaporate. They just no longer determine your actions. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you approach challenges. You stop negotiating with the part of yourself that wants to quit when things get difficult. You remove the back door that allows for easy retreat when resistance appears. You burn the bridges that would allow you to return to old patterns when transformation becomes uncomfortable. The breakthrough insight that separates extraordinary achievers from everyone else is recognizing that true commitment isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's not something you feel occasionally when motivation is high. It's something you decide once and enforce daily, regardless of emotional weather. When you make that irrevocable decision that nothing can hold you back, you eliminate all options except forward motion. If you've experienced the unmistakable power that comes from making a non-negotiable commitment to your vision, share "fully committed" in the comments section. This insight about commitment leads us to one of the most liberating truths in personal development. Most people fail not from incapability, but from indecision. This revelation completely transforms how you understand success and failure. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that extraordinary achievement requires extraordinary talent, but behind the scenes of nearly every breakthrough is a much simpler reality. The difference between success and failure rarely comes down to ability. It almost always comes down to commitment. Think about the graveyard of unrealized dreams that most people accumulate over a lifetime. Those unfulfilled ambitions didn't die because of lack of capacity. They perished from lack of decision. They remained in the purgatory of someday and maybe until they eventually faded entirely. The masters of morning mindset understand this trap and deliberately avoid it by removing all escape routes from their journey. The transformation begins when you eliminate excuses before they even have a chance to form. Most people create elaborate justifications for why they couldn't achieve their goals. Time constraints, resource limitations, lack of support, or unfavorable circumstances. But the extraordinary few make the paradigm-shifting decision to remove these mental escape hatches entirely. They don't negotiate with the part of themselves that wants an easy way out. This perspective naturally transitions us to our fifth powerful morning declaration. Discipline, not emotion, controls my day. This mindset represents the ultimate form of personal sovereignty, the absolute refusal to let temporary feelings dictate permanent decisions. The breakthrough insight that changes everything is declaring, I've eliminated all options except forward motion. When you wake up having already eliminated retreat as a possibility, you enter the day with completely different energy. Most people wake up subconsciously preserving their right to quit if things get uncomfortable. But the revelation that transforms ordinary journeys into extraordinary odysseys is understanding that when you commit fully to an outcome, the battle is already half won before it begins. The hidden truth behind every meaningful achievement is this: hope is not a strategy. Wishing for results creates nothing but frustration. The masters of morning mindset don't hope for outcomes. They create them through persistent, consistent action, regardless of emotional weather. They understand that results respond to execution, not intention. This approach requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to challenges. Instead of asking, can this be done? You simply ask, how will I do this? The first question leaves room for doubt and retreat. The second assumes completion and focuses exclusively on method. When you eliminate all options except forward motion, Your mind stops wasting energy on whether to continue and focuses entirely on how to continue most effectively. If you've experienced the clarity and power that comes from eliminating all options except forward motion, share "no retreat" in the comments below. When you embrace discipline as your controlling force rather than emotion, you discover one of life's most liberating truths. The world yields to those who pursue with everything they have. This isn't motivational hyperbole. It's a fundamental principle of achievement that operates regardless of industry, background, or circumstance. The world doesn't respond to wishes, intentions, or sporadic effort. It moves exclusively for those who bring relentless, focused energy to their pursuits. The breakthrough insight that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary is understanding that permission and reassurance are luxuries you cannot afford to seek. Most people spend precious energy asking, "Am I ready?" or "Do I have approval?" or "Is this the right time?" But these questions drain momentum before it can even build. The masters of morning mindset recognize that locking in on your vision with unwavering focus is the only approach that yields meaningful results. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you process information. Instead of being constantly derailed by every opinion, news story, or setback, you develop the capacity to drown out noise that doesn't serve your purpose. This isn't about ignorance, it's about selective attention. You amplify what moves you forward and minimize what holds you back. This filtering mechanism is perhaps the most underrated superpower in achievement. The catalyst for this disciplined pursuit is consistent, purposeful action, not sporadic bursts of effort followed by extended rest, but steady, persistent movement in the direction of your vision. The revelation that transforms ordinary careers into extraordinary legacies is understanding that consistency compounds over time. Small, disciplined actions performed daily eventually create results that appear miraculous to outside observers. This disciplined approach naturally leads to another profound morning declaration. Legendary achievements come from choosing power under pressure. When you study the architecture of breakthrough accomplishments across history, you discover this common foundation. They all emerged from someone who chose discipline precisely when surrounded by legitimate reasons to quit. The hidden truth behind every extraordinary outcome is that the defining moment wasn't the public victory. It was the private decision to continue when everything and everyone suggested retreat. It was choosing focus when distraction seemed justified. It was selecting discipline when emotions screamed for comfort. These invisible decisions, made when no one was watching, ultimately created the visible results that everyone celebrates. What separates history makers from history observers is this fundamental difference in relating to pressure. Most people view pressure as a signal to retreat, a warning to reduce expectations or postpone action. But the revelation that changes everything is recognizing that pressure is actually the crucible where ordinary potential is transformed into extraordinary capability. It's not something to avoid, it's something to leverage. If you've ever experienced the transformation that occurs when you choose discipline despite emotional resistance, share "Pressure Transformed" in the comments below. This perspective on discipline naturally reveals another profound truth. I don't need perfect conditions. I need decision and persistence. This revelation completely transforms your relationship with circumstances. Most people are constantly waiting for ideal conditions before taking meaningful action. The perfect amount of time, energy, resources, support, or inspiration. But the journey of mastery is paved with this insight. Success has never required perfect circumstances, only relentless determination. When you examine the backstory of any extraordinary achievement, you'll find someone who decided to move forward despite imperfect and often actively hostile conditions. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that the ability to decide and persist through difficulty is infinitely more valuable than raw talent or perfect opportunity. This single attribute, persistent action regardless of circumstances, creates results that appear almost miraculous to outside observers. This mindset creates an immediate shift in how you approach obstacles. Instead of seeing difficulties as signals to pause or retreat, you recognize them as the precise conditions needed to develop uncommon capability. The transformation occurs when you stop asking, "Is this the perfect time?" and start declaring, "This is the only time I have." This perspective eliminates wasted energy spent waiting for ideal conditions that rarely, if ever, appear. Perhaps the most liberating morning declaration within this mindset is, "Ready is a trap. There is only the decision to start." This statement confronts one of the most common delusions that keeps potential locked away. The belief that you must feel completely prepared before beginning anything significant. The hidden truth behind every meaningful journey is that readiness isn't a prerequisite for action. It's the result of action. Most people are caught in the paradox of preparation, believing they need to feel ready before starting, while not realizing that the feeling of readiness comes primarily from having already started. The masters of morning mindset bypass this trap entirely. They don't wait to feel prepared. They begin now and develop capability through direct engagement. They understand that readiness is developed in motion, not in contemplation. The watershed moment in personal development comes when you truly internalize that the perfect moment is a mirage that has kept countless dreams permanently deferred. It simply doesn't exist. What exists instead is this moment, the only one you're guaranteed, and your decision to use it purposefully. The morning declaration, "Ready is a trap," liberates you from the paralysis of preparation and propels you into immediate, meaningful action. This perspective shift creates an immediate change in how you begin new challenges. Instead of spending endless time researching, planning, and preparing, activities that often serve as sophisticated forms of procrastination, you take the first concrete step immediately. You recognize that clarity comes through engagement, not analysis. The revelation that transforms journeys is understanding that the only thing that truly matters is the resolve to keep going once you've started. If you've experienced the liberation of starting before feeling completely ready, share action first in the comments below. When you fully embody the declaration that discipline controls your day, you experience one of the most liberating revelations possible. Once I decide nothing will stop me, distractions fade away. This isn't motivational exaggeration, it's a neurological reality. When you commit unconditionally to your path, something remarkable happens in your perception. The critics whose opinions once paralyzed you suddenly seem irrelevant. The past failures that used to define your identity lose their emotional grip. The perceived weaknesses that limited your vision no longer determine your actions. The transformation occurs not because these elements disappear from your life, they're still present, but because they no longer command your attention. The mind can only focus intently on a limited number of stimuli at once. When you lock completely onto your destination with unwavering commitment, these distractions naturally fade to the background. All that remains in your field of awareness is forward momentum, the next step, the immediate action, the present opportunity. This single-minded focus represents the pinnacle of personal sovereignty. Most people live at the mercy of whatever captures their attention. News headlines, others' opinions, social media updates, or past regrets. But the masters of morning mindset understand the profound power of directed attention. They don't try to eliminate distractions. They simply refuse to grant them significance. This perspective shift creates an immediate sense of control over your mental landscape. This disciplined mindset naturally transitions us to our sixth powerful morning declaration. Every challenge is a chance to Prove my power. This perspective completely transforms your relationship with difficulty. While most people pray for an easier path, the masters of morning mindset understand that being unstoppable means continuing regardless of conditions. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that true resilience isn't about avoiding difficulty. It's about persisting through it. Anyone can move forward when conditions are favorable, energy is high, and motivation is strong. The defining characteristic of extraordinary achievement is continuing when energy is depleted, when fatigue is screaming for rest, and when every fiber of your being wants to surrender to comfort. Behind the scenes of every meaningful breakthrough is this hidden truth. The most significant growth occurs precisely when you push despite low energy. The most valuable strength is built specifically when you rise despite exhaustion. The most powerful habits are formed exactly when you show up despite comfort, beckoning you to stay home. These aren't unfortunate circumstances to be avoided. They're the exact conditions required to forge uncommon capability. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you view challenges. Instead of asking, why is this so hard? You begin asking, what is this difficulty developing in me? You stop seeing obstacles as punishments to endure and start recognizing them as opportunities to develop qualities you couldn't access any other way. The morning declaration. Every challenge is a chance to prove my power, transforms your relationship with resistance itself. If you've experienced the transformation that occurs when you persist through difficulty rather than avoiding it, share Resilience Forged in the comments below. This perspective on challenges naturally leads to one of the most liberating declarations possible. My decisions define me, not my circumstances. This insight completely transforms how you relate to your environment. Most people live as though their external conditions determine their identity and capabilities. They believe they need the right background, resources, connections, or luck to achieve extraordinary results. But the revelation that changes everything is understanding that your circumstances have never been the primary factor in your outcomes. Your decisions have. The evidence for this truth appears throughout human history. People with every conceivable advantage, wealth, education, connections, talent, often achieve nothing remarkable because their decisions lack commitment and consistency. Meanwhile, individuals facing overwhelming obstacles, poverty, disability, discrimination, trauma, sometimes achieve extraordinary breakthroughs because they've made different internal decisions about who they are and what they're capable of creating. The transformation occurs when you stop viewing your circumstances as the determining factor in your story. Your upbringing, your financial situation, your relationship, status, your health challenges, none of these elements define what's possible for you. They simply create the landscape through which you navigate. The journey of awakening begins when you recognize that the difference between achievement and stagnation has never been about external conditions, but internal commitment. This perspective creates an immediate shift in personal responsibility. You stop attributing outcomes to factors beyond your control and start recognizing the immense power of your choices. The declaration, "My decisions define me," isn't about ignoring genuine challenges or privileges. It's about reclaiming your agency regardless of where you find yourself on that spectrum. Now I want to go even deeper into what this mindset creates in your daily experience. When you fully embrace challenges as opportunities to prove your power, you naturally make another profound declaration. I've chosen relentless forward motion as my standard. This statement represents the ultimate commitment to your vision. Most people allow their standard of performance to fluctuate based on convenience, mood, or external feedback. But the masters of morning mindset establish a non-negotiable standard of forward movement. The revelation that transforms ordinary journeys into extraordinary odysseys is recognizing that you've invested too much to turn back now. You've sacrificed too much comfort, invested too much energy, and developed too much momentum to play small or abandon your path. This perspective creates an immediate sense of responsibility toward your future self. The morning declaration, "I've chosen relentless forward motion," eliminates the constant renegotiation that most people engage in daily. This commitment to completion becomes your default operating system. You no longer waste mental energy debating whether to continue. That decision was made once and enforced daily. The only question that remains is how to move forward most effectively. This singular focus creates an unusual clarity that most never experience. When you remove the option of retreat, your mind naturally becomes more resourceful, more determined, and more solution-oriented. If you've made the decision that your vision is worth seeing through to completion no matter what obstacles arise, share "decided to finish" in the comments below. This commitment to completion reveals perhaps the most empowering morning declaration possible. I am the force, the miracle, and the storm. This statement represents the ultimate reclamation of your personal power. Most people exist in a perpetual waiting state, waiting for rescue, waiting for the right mentor, waiting for perfect circumstances, or waiting for divine intervention. But the revelation that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary journeys is understanding that you are simultaneously the seeker and the solution. The awakening that changes everything is recognizing that the power you've been waiting for has been within you all along. You don't need external rescue, you need internal revolution. You are the force that drives your progress, the miracle that creates transformation, and the storm that breaks through barriers. This perspective creates an immediate shift in responsibility and agency. You stop outsourcing your evolution to external factors and claim complete ownership of your journey. Behind the scenes of every breakthrough achievement is this hidden truth. No wall is high enough, no doubt is deep enough, and no setback is powerful enough to break someone who has made the unshakable decision to continue. These obstacles aren't defeating you, they're revealing your capacity for resilience. They're not happening to you, they're happening for you. They're creating the exact conditions required to develop uncommon capability. This mindset naturally leads us to our seventh and perhaps most confronting morning declaration. Excuses are lies, execution is truth. This perspective completely transforms how you relate to challenges and setbacks. When you declare each morning that "I live by principles, not by feelings," you establish a non-negotiable standard for your actions regardless of emotional weather. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that discipline means consistently choosing long-term goals over temporary emotions. Most people make the fundamental error of letting their daily mood determine their actions. They work intensely when motivation is high, then collapse when it inevitably fades. They pursue their mission with passion on good days, then abandon it entirely on difficult ones. This emotional inconsistency creates a permanently fragmented journey. The transformation occurs when you recognize that your feelings were never meant to be your compass. They were meant to be weather passing through your awareness. Sometimes stormy, sometimes sunny, but never the determining factor in your direction. Your principles, the standards and values you've established for yourself become your true north, regardless of emotional fluctuations. This perspective creates an immediate shift in daily decision-making. You stop asking, "How do I feel about this?" and start asking, "What does my commitment require here?" You refuse to let momentary mood swings dictate your work quality or allow physical fatigue to rewrite your mission. You recognize that these emotional and physical states are temporary, while the impact of your consistency is permanent. If you've experienced the power of living by principles rather than being ruled by feelings, share "Principles guide me" in the comments below. When you embrace the declaration that excuses are lies while execution is truth, you naturally begin living by this powerful standard. I act because I said I would, regardless of how I feel. This statement represents the ultimate form of integrity, keeping promises to yourself even when every emotion is screaming for retreat. Most people make the fundamental error of believing that consistency requires motivation. But the revelation that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary journeys is understanding that the difference between dreamers and achievers is rarely talent or opportunity. It's consistent action, even when motivation is completely absent. The awakening that changes everything is recognizing that character isn't built during comfortable moments when action feels easy. It's forged specifically in those moments of resistance when every fiber of your being wants to procrastinate, delay, or abandon your commitments entirely. These aren't unfortunate circumstances to be avoided. They're the precise conditions required to develop uncommon integrity. Behind the scenes of every meaningful breakthrough is this hidden truth. The masters of morning mindset don't wait for inspiration to strike before taking action. They act first, and the inspiration often follows as a natural consequence of engagement. They understand that waiting for the perfect emotional state is perhaps the most sophisticated form of procrastination, one that feels completely justified in the moment, but ultimately keeps you permanently stalled. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you approach daily responsibilities. The declaration, "I act because I said I would," eliminates the constant internal negotiation that most people engage in. You stop wasting mental energy debating whether you feel like honoring your commitments. The decision was made when you established the commitment. The only question that remains is how to execute most effectively. Now I want to go even deeper into what might be the most transformative insight within this final declaration. Discipline is doing what needs to be done when I don't want to do it. This statement confronts the fundamental misunderstanding that most people have about discipline. They view it as a personality trait that some possess naturally, while others don't. But the revelation that changes everything is recognizing that discipline isn't a character trait. It's a decision made repeatedly in the face of resistance. While emotion constantly whispers, "skip it" or "do it later," discipline demands immediate, focused action regardless of feeling. This isn't about suppressing emotions or denying their existence. It's about refusing to grant them decision-making authority. The transformation occurs when you understand that emotion is perhaps the most unreliable guide for important decisions. It's temporary, fluctuating based on countless variables, from sleep quality to nutrition to recent interactions. Discipline, however, never fails you. It creates a foundation of consistency that builds momentum regardless of emotional weather. It establishes a trajectory of growth that continues even through periods of low motivation or inspiration. The morning declaration, "Discipline is doing what needs to be done," eliminates the emotional prerequisites that keep most people permanently inconsistent. If you've experienced the power of taking action, regardless of how you felt in the moment, share "discipline decided" in the comments below. As we've journeyed through these 7 powerful morning declarations, I hope you've recognized something profound. These aren't just motivational phrases, they're activation codes for your potential. The miracle of transformation doesn't happen in grand, dramatic moments. It occurs in those quiet decisions made before the world starts demanding your attention each morning. Remember, what you consistently tell yourself becomes your reality. Not because of some mystical law, but because your mind literally reconstructs your experience based on what you repeatedly declare as truth. This is what Neville Goddard understood so clearly. Your imagination, properly directed through disciplined declaration, becomes the blueprint for everything you'll create. I created this content because I've witnessed the Extraordinary shifts that occur when people reclaim those first moments of consciousness each day. If you found value in these declarations, if something resonated with your own journey, I'd love for you to become part of our community. Subscribe to continue this conversation about mental mastery and purposeful living. If these morning declarations sparked something in you, if you felt that subtle internal shift that signals recognition of truth, leave a comment saying, "Declarations activated so." I know these words found their way to the right person, and if this message added value to your day, that simple "like you leave" becomes a signal that helps others discover these same principles. It's not just engagement, it's contribution to a larger conversation about human potential. I've prepared another video that builds directly on these principles, showing how to transform these morning declarations into evening reflections that accelerate your growth. Click right there and continue this journey with me. The transformation has already begun. Let's keep building on this foundation together. What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you're making a decision that will shape the rest of your life? Have you ever stopped to consider that every second ticking by is a piece of your existence that you'll never get back? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the globe. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Time. It's the one resource we all have in equal measure, yet some people seem to accomplish extraordinary feats while others remain trapped in endless cycles of mediocrity. Has this ever happened to you? You set ambitious goals, make promises to yourself, only to find another year has passed with nothing to show for it. In the profound wisdom of Neville Goddard, time is not merely passing. It's either being invested or squandered. Unlike money, which can be earned back after a loss, time vanishes forever once spent. The weak allow it to slip through their fingers like sand, while the strong guard it as their most precious possession, understanding its irreplaceable value. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might fundamentally change how you view every minute of your day. The difference between those who merely survive and those who truly thrive isn't found in talent, connections, or lucky breaks. It lies in how they approach the currency of life itself, time. The brutal truth is that excuses are the language of failure. Every time you explain why you cannot do something, every moment spent justifying inaction, you're signing a binding contract with mediocrity. These justifications might feel comforting in the moment, but they're silently robbing you of your potential, one rationalization at a time. What if, instead of crafting elaborate reasons for why you can't, you started building the discipline to ensure that you will? Discipline isn't punishment. It's the forge that transforms ordinary men and women into extraordinary forces of nature. It's the invisible weapon that carves giants out of average people when wielded with consistency and purpose. The world doesn't reward those with the most valid excuses. It bows to those who refuse to make them in the first place. Right now, while you're contemplating your limitations, someone else with the same 24 hours is building their empire, advancing their skills, or taking decisive action toward their vision. What separates them from you isn't some magical advantage or superior circumstance. It's their relentless commitment to protect their time and their unwavering discipline to use it purposefully. They understand something that most people never grasp, that your relationship with time defines everything else in your life. But how exactly do you make this transformation? How do you shift from someone who constantly explains why you can't to someone who consistently proves that you will? The journey begins with a fundamental shift in how you view the minutes that make up your day. If you're committed to mastering your time and creating an extraordinary life, hit subscribe now and join our community of action takers who refuse to waste a single minute of their potential. The hidden truth that most people never confront is this: nobody is coming to save you. There's no cavalry on the horizon, no magical intervention that will transform your circumstances while you wait. The revelation that shakes many to their core is that complete responsibility for your life rests squarely on your shoulders, and this realization is actually your greatest power. This journey of transformation begins when you stop outsourcing your success to external forces. While you're waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is creating it. While you're formulating reasons why you can't begin, someone else is already halfway to the finish line. The stark reality is that the difference between those who achieve greatness and those who merely dream about it isn't found in natural talent or favorable circumstances. It's rooted in the decisions they make every single day. Your mindset becomes your reality. When you fully embrace that you alone are responsible for crafting your destiny, something profound shifts within you. Excuses lose their appeal because you recognize them as self-imposed limitations. Blame becomes pointless because you understand that your power lies in response, not reaction. This acceptance isn't a burden, it's liberation in its purest form. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the second weapon in your arsenal against mediocrity: clarity. Without a clear mission guiding your actions, you become like a leaf in the wind, blown wherever the currents of distraction take you. The person without purpose responds to life rather than directing it, forever at the mercy of whatever captures their attention in the moment. The impact of defining your mission with razor-sharp precision cannot be overstated. When you know exactly what you're fighting for, what you're building toward, something remarkable happens. Your relationship with time fundamentally changes. Suddenly, those minutes you once frittered away on meaningless activities feel like theft from your destiny. Each distraction becomes not just a momentary inconvenience, but a direct assault on your future. This clarity acts as an internal compass that guides every decision, big or small. The question, does this move me closer to my vision or further away, becomes the filter through which you evaluate how to spend your precious time. Activities that once seemed harmless now reveal themselves as the silent saboteurs they truly are, quietly eroding the foundation of what you're trying to build. Behind the scenes of every great achievement in history lies this same fundamental truth: the power of a clearly defined purpose. From the world's most innovative companies to history-defining movements, nothing of significance was ever built by someone who was unsure of what they wanted. The mind that knows its destination will find 1,000 paths to reach it, while the mind without direction will find 1,000 reasons to wander. Write in the comments, "I choose clarity," if you're ready to stop drifting and start directing your life with intention. Now, let me show you how to defend yourself against the forces that will try to pull you away from your mission. Your mission brings clarity, but what truly propels you toward extraordinary achievement is focus, the most undervalued currency in today's distracted world. This revelation transforms everything. Focus, not money, not connections, not even raw talent, is what separates those who merely exist from those who truly excel. The marketplace of life pays premium rewards to those who can direct their mental energy with laser precision toward their defined purpose. Consider this hidden truth: the person with average resources but unwavering focus will consistently outperform the person with abundant resources but fragmented attention. History reveals this pattern repeatedly. Breakthrough innovations, artistic masterpieces, and revolutionary businesses weren't necessarily created by the most privileged or naturally gifted. They came from individuals who developed the rare ability to concentrate their entire being on a singular vision while others scattered their energy across 1,000 meaningless distractions. Focus acts as a magnificent amplifier. It takes whatever resources you currently possess, your knowledge, your skills, your relationships, your time, and multiplies their impact exponentially. The mind that can maintain unwavering attention possesses a superpower in a world where most people can barely complete a single thought without reaching for their phone or surrendering to the next shiny distraction. Your journey toward mastering focus requires recognizing an uncomfortable truth. Your environment will either reinforce your mission or silently sabotage it. This brings us to the battlefield where most dreams either flourish or perish, your daily surroundings. The environments you inhabit are not neutral backgrounds in your life story. They're active forces constantly shaping your mindset, decisions, and ultimately your destiny. If you walk among the lazy, their pace becomes your norm. If your inner circle consists of people who settle for mediocrity, excellence begins to feel foreign, even arrogant. The company you keep is either your ladder to elevation or your anchor to stagnation. There is no middle ground. Many potential world changers remain eternally average, not because they lack ability, but because they refuse to distance themselves from influences that quietly drain their ambition. This principle extends beyond people to include every aspect of your surroundings. The information you consume, the spaces you occupy, even the conversations you entertain. Each element either sharpens your focus like a whetstone or dulls your edge with each passing day. The transformation you seek requires ruthless honesty about whether your current environment supports or sabotages your highest vision. Behind every extraordinary achievement lies an environment intentionally designed to nurture greatness. Champions understand this. Instinctively, they create protective boundaries around their mission, guarding it from negative influences that would diminish their focus. They recognize that environmental mastery often demands difficult choices, including releasing relationships that no longer serve their growth. Comment below with "Guard my focus" if you're committed to creating an environment that elevates rather than diminishes your potential. Now, let me address the silent killer that prevents most people from ever experiencing the power of momentum. The environment you cultivate extends beyond physical spaces to the people who occupy your inner circle. This revelation has transformed countless lives. Your personal growth is directly proportional to the standards of those you surround yourself with. When you deliberately seek out individuals who push against your limitations, who challenge your thinking, who make you uncomfortable with staying comfortable, you unlock accelerated evolution in every area of your life. Growth-minded people serve as living embodiments of what's possible. They don't merely inspire you with words, they elevate your standards through their actions. Their presence in your life becomes a catalyst for your own transformation, constantly reminding you that settling for mediocrity is a choice, not a sentence. The uncomfortable truth is that your potential is too precious to sacrifice on the altar of comfortable relationships that silently endorse your limitations. Behind every quantum leap in personal development is often a change in who you allow close to you. This doesn't mean abandoning everyone who doesn't share your exact vision, but it does require honest assessment of who genuinely champions your growth versus who subtly undermines it. The journey toward extraordinary achievement demands companions who see your potential even when you don't, who believe in your vision, especially when it wavers. Subscribe now to transform these insights into lasting change. Every video we share is designed to help you break free from mediocrity and step into the greatness you were meant for. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exposing the most dangerous adversary on your path to greatness: procrastination. This silent saboteur doesn't announce itself with warnings or alarms. Instead, it whispers seductive lies that sound remarkably like wisdom. Wait until you're more prepared. Wait for the perfect moment. Wait until inspiration strikes. These persuasive falsehoods have derailed more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. The mindset shift that changes everything is recognizing that tomorrow is not promised. Inspiration is wildly unreliable, and readiness is an illusion manufactured by fear. The revelation that liberates high achievers from this trap is understanding that action precedes clarity, not the other way around. The path forward only reveals itself to those already in motion. Consider this hidden truth. Every person who has ever accomplished something significant did so while battling uncertainty. They didn't wait until doubt disappeared. They moved forward despite its presence. They understood intuitively that procrastination isn't merely delaying action, it's actively choosing regression, because while you wait, opportunities evaporate, momentum dissipates, and competitors advance. The decision to act despite imperfect conditions isn't reckless, it's the ultimate demonstration of wisdom. It acknowledges life's temporal nature and refuses to sacrifice irreplaceable present moments for a hypothetical perfect future that never arrives. Behind every breakthrough innovation, artistic masterpiece, or personal triumph lies this fundamental principle: imperfect action today trumps perfect planning tomorrow. Drop taking action now in the comments if you're committed to breaking procrastination's hold on your potential. Let's examine how taking consistent small actions creates an unstoppable force that propels you toward your dreams. The cemetery of unfulfilled potential is filled not with people who failed, but with those who never truly began. This revelation transforms everything. Perfect plans that remain unexecuted are worth far less than imperfect actions that generate real-world feedback. We've been conditioned to believe that thorough preparation guarantees success, but this mindset often serves as sophisticated procrastination, keeping us permanently anchored. In the planning phase, the journey of achievement reveals a counterintuitive truth. Clarity emerges through action, not before it. The path forward only materializes when you're already in motion. Think about learning to drive. No amount of theoretical study could replace the actual experience of getting behind the wheel. Similarly, your vision will never fully crystallize until you begin taking tangible steps toward it. However imperfect those steps might seem, behind every breakthrough lies this fundamental principle: progress isn't about perfection, it's about movement. Even small, flawed actions generate momentum that perfect plans never will. They provide real data, create opportunities for adjustment, and most importantly, they transform your identity from someone who merely contemplates to someone who actually creates. The impact of this identity shift cannot be overstated. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how these individual actions compound into something truly magnificent: momentum. This force operates like a hidden law of achievement that few truly understand. When you consistently take action, even small, seemingly insignificant steps, you initiate a powerful transformation that extends far beyond the immediate results. Consider the revelation that completely changes how high achievers approach their work. Motivation is fundamentally unreliable. It fluctuates based on mood, circumstances, and countless variables beyond your control. Momentum, however, is steadfast. It's the accumulated energy of consistent action that carries you forward precisely when motivation abandons you. This is why the disciplined win, while the merely motivated eventually fade. One workout won't transform your body, but 100 consecutively will. One page of writing won't make you an author, but 1,000 will. One sales call won't build an empire, but 1,000 might. The mindset shift occurs when you stop seeking dramatic breakthroughs and instead embrace the extraordinary power of ordinary consistency. Small victories stacked daily create a foundation so strong that eventual success becomes almost inevitable. The hidden truth is that momentum operates according to physics, not feelings. Once an object in motion builds sufficient speed, it requires significantly less energy to maintain that movement than it did to begin. Your productivity, creativity, and growth follow this same principle. The hardest part is always starting, but once you've established rhythm through consistent action, progress becomes your natural state. This perspective renders motivation largely irrelevant. The highest achievers don't rely on feeling inspired. They rely on systems and habits that generate momentum regardless of their emotional state. They understand that waiting for motivation before taking action is like waiting for fitness before going to the gym. It fundamentally misunderstands the relationship between cause and effect. Type building momentum in the comments if you're committed to creating unstoppable force through daily consistent action. Let me show you how protecting your minutes like precious diamonds fundamentally changes everything else in your journey. The revelation that transforms ordinary achievers into extraordinary forces comes down to a fundamental shift in perspective. Treating your minutes with the same reverence you would precious diamonds. This mindset unlocks a dimension of productivity that most people never experience. Consider the stark reality. When you lose money, you can earn it back. When you lose time, it vanishes forever into the abyss of what could have been. The blueprint behind every remarkable achievement reveals this common thread. High performers guard their minutes with fierce intentionality. They don't just plan their days, they design them with surgical precision. Each hour becomes a strategic investment rather than something to merely get through. This awakening fundamentally alters how you navigate your entire existence. The inner dialogue of achievement constantly asks one pivotal question. Does this action move me toward my vision or away from it? This single filter, applied consistently, illuminates the hidden wastage that most people never recognize. The social media scroll that consumes 30 minutes, the meaningless debate that spans an hour, the unfocused meeting that devours your afternoon, all these seemingly harmless activities compound into a devastating opportunity cost when viewed through this lens. Time protection requires ruthless prioritization. Behind every extraordinary accomplishment lies not just what someone did, but what they deliberately chose not to do. The paradox of achievement is that saying no to almost everything becomes the prerequisite for saying yes to greatness. This mindset shift feels uncomfortable precisely because it demands rejecting what most consider normal. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by dispelling perhaps the most pervasive myth about success, that it somehow depends on mysterious forces beyond your control. The transformation occurs when you fully internalize this truth. Success is not a lottery ticket distributed by luck to the fortunate few. It's the natural, almost inevitable result of specific behaviors repeated with unwavering consistency. The journey reveals a pattern so predictable, it's almost mathematical. Success belongs to the disciplined, the focused, and the relentless. Those who master their time, master their destiny. Those who waste their time, waste their life. The choice, while brutal in its simplicity, creates the dividing line between extraordinary results and eternal mediocrity. This revelation dismantles the comfortable excuses we tell ourselves. If success were truly about luck or mysterious external forces, we could justify our current position without taking responsibility. But the uncomfortable truth illuminates why this perspective is actually liberating. It places the outcome squarely in your hands. The mindset of high achievers embraces this responsibility completely. They understand that how they spend their minutes today determines where they'll stand tomorrow. They don't drift through life hoping for favorable winds. They deliberately steer towards specific destinations, regardless of conditions. They don't view discipline as punishment, but as the ultimate expression of self-respect, a declaration that their dreams deserve their very best effort. Comment, minutes are diamonds, if you're committed to protecting your time with the same vigilance you protect physical treasure. Let me show you why defining your mission with absolute clarity becomes the compass that guides every decision you make. The mythology of potential has deceived countless dreamers. The uncomfortable revelation that transforms theoretical achievers into actual ones is this: life doesn't reward those with the most detailed plans, the greatest innate talents, or even the grandest visions. The universe responds only to action, consistent, persistent, determined action. This mindset shift liberates you from the tyranny of someday and places success firmly within your grasp today. Behind every breakthrough achievement stands someone who transcended planning and entered the arena of execution. They understood the fundamental equation that governs all accomplishment: courage to begin plus discipline to continue. Eventual victory. The journey reveals this pattern repeatedly. The person who takes imperfect action consistently will invariably outperform the genius who merely contemplates perfection. The
What's up, Say? Snuck in on me.
Embrace that life rewards.
How you doing?
Not dreamers. Every day presents the same fundamental choice: to remain in the comfort of contemplation or to step into the uncertainty of action. Those who consistently choose action, even when fear whispers convincing reasons to wait, gradually build an unshakable foundation for extraordinary results. The battlefield of achievement is littered with brilliant plans that were never implemented, while seemingly ordinary individuals who simply refuse to quit stand victorious. I want to go even deeper into this topic.
I see ya. Hope you're having a good day. You ready for the weekend?
Absolute precision becomes the navigational system for your entire existence. Without this clarity, you remain adrift in a sea of possibilities, pushed and pulled by whatever current happens to be strongest at any given moment. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that a person without direction becomes a slave to distractions, a prisoner of comfort, and ultimately a victim of time itself. This directionless state manifests as a peculiar form of suffering, constantly busy but never truly productive, always moving but never arriving anywhere meaningful. The symptom of this condition is an existence filled with activity but devoid of advancement. You might work hard, but without a clearly defined destination, your efforts scatter in 1,000 directions, creating exhaustion without progress. Life will never spontaneously hand you clarity. This precious resource must be intentionally created through deliberate reflection and decisive choice. The mindset shift occurs when you realize that defining your mission isn't just a helpful exercise, it's the fundamental prerequisite for every other success strategy. Without it, discipline lacks direction, time management lacks purpose, and motivation lacks sustainability. The journey toward mission clarity requires asking penetrating questions. What am I willing to dedicate my life to building? What contribution am I uniquely positioned to make? What battle am I prepared to fight, even when it's difficult? The answers won't materialize immediately, but the mere act of wrestling with these questions begins to crystallize your direction. This precision acts as the central filtering mechanism for everything else: your environment, your associations, your habits, your investments of time. With mission clarity, decisions that once seemed complex become surprisingly simple. Each choice reduces to a single question: does this align with my defined purpose or not? This filter eliminates the paralysis of endless options and accelerates progress exponentially. Write "Finding My Mission" in the comments if you're committed to defining your direction with absolute clarity. Let's explore why your surroundings will either elevate you toward greatness or silently sabotage your highest aspirations. A mission
maybe Buckeyes play tomorrow.
the revelation that separates
They say that's
extraordinary
gonna.
from the ambitious is
I can live
understanding
stream
that a
tomorrow.
true mission isn't a gentle hope whispered in quiet moments. It's a declaration of war against mediocrity.
Yeah, she was here in the very beginning when I first turned on the live stream, and she
When
bailed
you
out.
define your mission
I don't know
with
who
this
she
level of
was.
conviction,
I
it
don't know if
demands
she
not just your
subscribed.
attention, but
So the Buckeyes play tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to watch that, and then
discipline when temptation
I'll probably be
calls,
on later
and
doing
your
more things.
perseverance when obstacles appear
get out of
insurmountable.
here without getting painted.
The mindset shift occurs
Small
when
closet.
you realize that a mission worthy of your life will never feel comfortable. It should
No more
frighten
paint
you
to do out in this
slightly
main
with its
room.
magnitude, while simultaneously
I gotta paint all
igniting
those
something
baseboards.
primal within you. This burning vision becomes the catalyst.
I'll paint the walls
that pulls you
tomorrow
from
unless
bed
something
when
changes.
others sleep,
I'll be on
that
here for
keeps you
that.
working
Probably about the same time.
quit, that forces you to rise when everything within you.
Buckeyes play at noon. I like to
It's
watch
the
the
internal
Buckeyes.
compass that remains steady when external conditions grow chaotic. Behind every surrender to ordinary existence,
What you got going on this weekend?
of a mission powerful enough to make mediocrity intolerable. The journey toward extraordinary achievement.
Oh, I don't know. You'll find out if you start live streaming. I think
So compelling that returning
They
to
come and go.
becomes more painful than
some days you have
pushing
more
through
come in
difficulty.
than others.
This mission becomes the foundation upon which every other success strategy builds.
I notice not many people like watching me paint. People seem to like it better when you just get on there and talk to them.
Virtually unstoppable.
Or you do something a little more exciting and just ignore them. They seem to like that too. They get on there and admire it, or they talk crap and trolling you in the comments, but no, they're not even reading it, so they don't know they're talking crap. But
Weren't accidentally established. They were envisioned by individuals who carried a concept of
yeah, you're right. I was telling my dad that. You're exactly right. I saw a guy the other day.
transform society.
He had a
Random occurrence.
toilet seat on his head,
Missions carried by
and it was just a toilet seat.
prevailing conditions.
And he was eating a cheeseburger, and he told him,
Human excellence.
"Stop that! Leave me alone. I'm trying to eat."
Businesses stood founders with
And he just took his sweet time taking a little cheeseburger, taking bites, and they were sending him money. They were super chatting him.
driven
$5, $10,
that consumed
and he was just mouthing off with a toilet seat on his head. So
stood created
you're right. Some of the stupidest crap
the common denominator
gets a lot of attention.
will serve
I'm okay with that. I'd say I'm not selling my soul for viewers.
above their fears. The catalyst for this level of achievement
Oh, hi, Say. How you doing? Oh. Yeah, back at painting, man.
is compelling enough to
Nothing too major. I'm painting these baseboards, and then I'll do the walls tomorrow.
ordinary outcomes, not because they're inherently different from others, but because they've defined perfect
Try to get the paint on good and thick, so some of it I might not have to put 2 coats.
for extraordinary results. Your own transformation.
I'm trying to turn this into like a studio for eventually when I do my live streams.
Universal human condition.
It'll be a while. I may do some still on my way set, but
Powerful enough to pull you through.
some of them I'll start doing up here.
Without this,
I turn it into more of a studio.
your journey remains at the mercy of fluctuating motivation and external
I saw your
type mission over mediocrity.
I saw your shorts video was up to like 1.6 thousand. That's a pretty good job.
Existence.
That's more than I got on any of mine.
How procrastination silently steals your most precious.
They seem to like watching the video game content.
Reasonable caution. The most dangerous deception in our modern world isn't that something actively prevents your success. It's the subtle reality that, in the absence of your own defined mission, External forces will happily script your life for you. This revelation transforms everything. The vacuum created by not deciding your purpose doesn't remain empty, it is filled immediately. Your boss assigns priorities based on corporate needs. Society imposes expectations, reflecting cultural norms, and the endless stream of digital distractions fragments your attention until your existence becomes a scattered response to whatever happens to be loudest in the moment. The mindset shift occurs when you realize this isn't a theoretical threat, but an active process already underway in your life. Without a self-defined mission, your journey becomes a series of reactions rather than intentional creations. The evidence appears everywhere, living for weekends, measuring progress by consumption rather than contribution, finding identity in others' expectations rather than internal conviction. This pattern represents the silent surrender of your creative power to external programming. Behind every extraordinary life stands someone who refused this passive arrangement. They recognize the hidden truth that undirects most lives. Failing to define your purpose doesn't prevent you from having one. It merely outsources the decision to forces unconcerned with fulfillment. The most profound act of rebellion against mediocrity is defining your mission with such clarity that external scripts lose their gravitational pull on your decisions. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the remarkable transformation that occurs when your mission achieves perfect clarity. The revelation that changes everything is this. A clear mission creates an entirely new decision-making framework. The fundamental question shifts from the weak, do I feel like doing this, to the powerful, does this move me closer to my vision? This single change in perspective eliminates countless internal battles and accelerates progress exponentially. With mission clarity, formerly difficult choices become surprisingly simple. Activities that once seemed appealing suddenly reveal themselves as sophisticated distractions. Conversations that once occupied hours now register as energy drains. Time-wasting habits that were once mindless now feel actively painful, like watching someone steal something precious from you in slow motion. This transformation reframes your relationship with everything. Distractions lose their hypnotic power because they're no longer competing with boredom, they're competing with your life's purpose. Gossip and negative conversation feel like literal poison because you recognize them as contaminants in your mission's ecosystem. Hours spent on meaningless activities register as theft because you understand viscerally that time isn't just passing, it's being stolen from your greater work. The decision-making advantage this creates cannot be overstated. While others navigate life through constantly shifting emotional states and external influences, your choices flow from a single, unwavering reference point. This consistency compounds over time, creating momentum where others experience only endless restarts. Each aligned decision reinforces your direction, simultaneously weakening your distraction. Share my direction in the comments if you're ready to stop outsourcing your life script and start creating from internal clarity. Let's explore why treating your mission as sacred transforms but who you become. Defining your mission is just the beginning. Treating it as sacred transforms it from a mere verdict into an unstoppable force. This revelation changes everything. A mission casually held exists only in theory, but a mission becomes impossible reality. You don't hold your purpose to become. You must sacrifice for it. This mindset change your direction from something you occasionally fit into the central organizing principle of your entire existence. The journey reveals a powerful truth. Spirit cannot maintain its grip when purpose is. The ancient battle between fear and vision resolves decisively when your mission burns brightly. It's not that fear disappears, it's that its voice becomes increasingly irrelevant against the backdrop of your burning commitment. The world will test your resolve with countless distractions, criticisms, and setbacks, but a mission held sacred develops an immunity to these inevitable challenges. Behind every extraordinary achievement lies this fundamental principle. The degree to which you treat your mission as sacred directly determines the power it exercises in your life. When your purpose becomes non-negotiable, something you would no sooner abandon than you would stop breathing, it develops an almost mystical ability to pull you through obstacles that would stop others completely. This unwavering dedication becomes the hidden engine behind breakthrough results. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the profound transformation that occurs when you finally commit to a clear mission. The revelation that changes everything is how this single decision ripples through every dimension of your existence. Your mornings, once faced with resistance, suddenly possess power because they represent the first opportunity to advance your purpose. Your work, previously a means of survival, gains profound meaning because it now connects to something transcendent rather than merely transactional. The mindset metamorphosis extends to how you view sacrifice. What others perceive as painful discipline, you recognize as necessary investment. The mornings, the challenge of focused effort, the surrender of short-term pleasures, all of these shift from burdens to be avoided into worthy exchanges for something infinitely more valuable. This perspective fundamentally alters your relationship with difficulty itself. Perhaps the most significant transformation occurs in your fundamental state of being. Without mission, you exist. You occupy space, consume resources, and pass time. With mission, you advance. You move with purpose, create value, and invest time. This subtle shift represents the difference between a life of passive acceptance and one of active creation. It's the dividing line between merely surviving and truly living. The journey toward greatness begins with this single realization. You were not designed merely to exist. The profound emptiness many experience comes not from lacking possessions or achievements, but from lacking purpose. When you decide on your mission, when you commit to it with unwavering conviction, you activate dormant potential that transforms ordinary moments into meaningful progression. Comment: purpose is power. If you're committed to treating your mission as something sacred rather than something casual, let's examine how your environment either nurtures your greatest potential or quietly suffocates it before it can fully emerge. The revelation that transforms ordinary strivers into extraordinary achievers is this: your environment is not passive background. It's an active force constantly shaping who you're becoming. This perspective shifts everything. Your surroundings are either sharpening you into a weapon of precision and impact, or slowly dulling you into mediocrity and weakness. There is no neutral ground in this equation. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that no one, regardless of willpower, talent, or intention, rises above the consistent influence they allow daily access to their mind, heart, and spirit. The journey reveals this pattern with striking clarity. The people you regularly interact with, the physical spaces you inhabit, the information you consume, the conversations you entertain, all these elements are silently programming your subconscious expectations, beliefs, and ultimately your actions. This programming operates whether you're conscious of it or not, creating an invisible boundary around what you perceive as possible for your life. Behind every extraordinary achievement stands someone who fiercely guarded their environmental influences. They understood intuitively that continuous exposure to mediocrity
Have to reposition.
normal, while regular exposure to excellence gradually makes excellence fuel. This recognition transforms environment from a mere preference into a strategic cannot build greatness surrounded by mediocrity. This isn't motivational high power. It's a fundamental principle governing all growth. Will either fail to thrive or express a dimension of its potential. Simply, your highest aspirations in an environment that subtly or overtly undermines them. This perspective reframes how you view the influences you permit in your life. The casual friendships that consistently drain your energy, the physical spaces that reinforce distraction, the information diet that feeds negativity rather than possibility, all these elements constitute the soil in which you're attempting to grow your future. Their impact isn't measured in days, but in years, as their cumulative effect gradually shapes your conception of what's normal, acceptable, and possible. The transformation begins with brutal honesty about whether your current environment supports or sabotages your vision. This assessment isn't about judgment, but strategic clarity. Just as a farmer wouldn't take it personally that certain soil conditions won't support particular crops, you needn't attach emotional weight to recognizing when certain influences don't support your growth. This objectivity allows you to make necessary changes without unnecessary guilt or conflict. Type "guarding my garden" in the comments if you're committed to creating an environment that nurtures rather than diminishes your potential. Let's explore the silent killer that prevents most people from experiencing the unstoppable power of momentum. Perhaps the most insidious threat to your potential isn't external opposition, but the gradual erosion of your standards. This revelation transforms everything. When surrounded by mediocrity, you don't experience a sudden collapse. You undergo a subtle recalibration that happens so gradually you barely notice it happening. The transformation occurs through 1,000 small surrenders, each one barely perceptible. You begin making exceptions for what you once considered unacceptable. You start normalizing what you previously recognized as average. The comfort zone that once felt like a temporary rest becomes your permanent residence. The journey reveals this pattern with alarming clarity. We unconsciously absorb and reflect the standards of those we consistently surround ourselves with. Human beings are fundamentally adaptive creatures. We calibrate to our environment as a survival mechanism. This biological reality creates an invisible danger when your surroundings quietly communicate that good enough is sufficient, that comfort trumps growth, that average represents a reasonable ceiling for your aspirations. Behind this silent death of potential lies a profound psychological process. You become the average of the people we spend the most time with. Their attitudes, their beliefs, their ambitions, their tolerances, all gradually infiltrate your thinking until one day you look in the mirror and realize you've become exactly like them. This metamorphosis doesn't announce itself. It happens in whispers, not shouts. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the necessary counteraction to this environmental contamination. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that elimination precedes elevation. Your capacity to rise is directly proportional to your willingness to ruthlessly cut away what diminishes you. This isn't mere preference. It's strategic necessity for anyone committed to extraordinary achievement. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that time wasters and energy vampires aren't merely annoying inconveniences, they're active threats to your most precious resources. Every minute surrendered to people who drain rather than energize you represents irreplaceable life force diverted from your mission. Every conversation that leaves you depleted rather than inspired constitutes a direct attack on your potential. The uncomfortable truth is that you cannot simultaneously protect your dream and permit consistent access to those who diminish it. This perspective transforms how you view boundaries, protecting your peace, your mental Clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual alignment becomes as non-negotiable as protecting your financial assets or physical safety. You wouldn't leave your home unlocked in a dangerous neighborhood, yet many leave their mental space completely unguarded against toxic influences. You wouldn't hand your wallet to someone who repeatedly steals from you, yet many repeatedly give their precious time to those who waste it without remorse. The journey toward greatness demands a fundamental reframing. You do not owe your life to people who consistently drain it. This isn't selfishness, it's stewardship. Your potential isn't just about you, it's about the contribution you're capable of making when operating at your highest level. Permitting influences that diminish this potential doesn't just harm you, it deprives the world of what you might have created or become. Comment, protecting my potential. If you recognize the need to guard your standards against the silent erosion of mediocre influences, let's explore why seeking environments that deliberately challenge you accelerates your growth beyond what comfortable surroundings could ever produce. The counterintuitive catalyst for exponential growth isn't found in comfortable spaces, but in environments that deliberately stretch your capabilities. This revelation transforms everything. While most people instinctively seek situations where they can feel competent and confident, extraordinary achievers do exactly the opposite. They intentionally place themselves in rooms where they feel slightly intimidated. This strategic discomfort creates the ideal conditions for rapid expansion of your skills, mindset, and vision. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that being the smallest fish in a powerful pond accelerates your growth far more than being the dominant presence in a limited environment. When you're surrounded by people operating at levels that make you uncomfortable, their standards silently become your new normal. Their questions challenge your thinking. Their accomplishments redefine what you perceive as possible. Their pace forces you to move faster than you would naturally choose. Behind every quantum leap in personal development stands this principle. Look for spaces where mediocrity cannot survive and excuses are immediately crushed. These high standards environments create a natural filtration system. Either you rise to meet the elevated expectations or the discomfort eventually forces you out. This subtle pressure becomes the invisible hand that pushes you past self-imposed limitations you might never overcome in more forgiving surroundings. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing perhaps the most important principle governing personal transformation. The revelation that changes everything is this: environment is fundamentally stronger than willpower. This isn't motivational theory, it's psychological reality with profound implications for your journey. You can possess the greatest intentions, the most detailed plans, and even temporary bursts of extraordinary discipline. But if your surroundings consistently oppose these aspirations, your strength will eventually crack under the continuous pressure. The journey reveals this pattern repeatedly. Trying to sustain motivation in an environment that undermines your goals is like swimming upstream in a powerful current. You might make progress through sheer effort for a while, but the relentless opposing force eventually depletes your energy. The breakthrough realization is that changing your environment works with these psychological forces rather than against them. It actually multiplies your progress exponentially by aligning external influences with your internal direction. This perspective completely reframes the concept of willpower. Rather than viewing discipline as an infinite resource you should be able to summon regardless of circumstances, you recognize it as a precious but limited force best used strategically. The wisest approach isn't developing superhuman willpower that can overcome any environment. It's deliberately engineering surroundings that naturally pull you toward your goals instead of away from them. Consider the transformative impact of this shift. when your environment supports your aspirations, progress requires less effort. Actions that once demanded intense discipline gradually become your default behavior. Standards that initially felt uncomfortable slowly become your normal expectations. The battle between what you want to achieve and what your surroundings encourage simply disappears, creating a powerful alignment that accelerates elevation through environment in the comments if you're ready to deliberately seek spaces that stretch rather than comfort you. Let's explore how guarding what enters your mind fundamentally changes the quality of your thoughts, decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Your mind isn't merely a passive receiver of information. It's an active battlefield where your potential is either defended or surrendered daily. This revelation transforms everything. Every piece of content you consume, every conversation you entertain, every thought pattern you permit is actively programming your subconscious, shaping your beliefs, and ultimately determining your actions. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that mental input isn't neutral entertainment. It's either strategic reinforcement of your vision or subtle sabotage of your highest aspirations. The journey toward extraordinary achievement demands vigilant protection of this mental territory. Behind the scenes of every significant breakthrough lies someone who treated their mind as sacred ground, carefully filtering what they allowed past its gates. They understood intuitively that what goes in inevitably determines what comes out. Feed your mind with strategy, discipline, and vision, and it produces clarity, direction, and power. Feed it with distraction, negativity, and limitation, and it manifests confusion, doubt, and stagnation. This perspective transforms how you view your daily information diet. The random social media scroll, the habitual consumption of negative news, the unconscious absorption of limiting beliefs from casual conversations. All these seemingly innocent activities constitute direct attacks on your mental clarity and energy. The breakthrough occurs when you begin curating your mental influences with the same intentionality you selected food for your physical body, recognizing that mental nutrition determines mental performance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring perhaps the most uncomfortable truth about transformation. The revelation that changes everything is this: you cannot fundamentally change while remaining in the same environment that shaped your current reality. This isn't motivational theory, it's a psychological necessity. True elevation requires separation from what holds you down. The journey reveals this pattern consistently. Trying to implement new behaviors, standards, or beliefs while surrounded by the very influences that created your existing patterns is nearly insurmountable friction. The environment you've outgrown will continuously pull you back toward familiar territory through 1,000 subtle mechanisms, expectations, reactions, reminders, and established dynamics that unconsciously reinforce who you've been rather than who you're becoming. This recognition often demands difficult decisions, leaving behind comfortable routines, familiar spaces, and sometimes even long-established relationships that no longer align with your direction. The mindset transformation occurs when you realize this separation isn't rejection of your past, but protection of your future. It's not an act of disloyalty, but an act of integrity toward the person you're committed to becoming. Growth inherently involves outgrowing perspectives, outgrowing environments, outgrowing versions of yourself that once felt sufficient. This natural evolution creates a choice point. Remain tethered to what's familiar or step into spaces that reflect and reinforce your emerging vision. The path of transformation invariably requires the courage to choose the latter, even when that choice creates temporary discomfort or uncertainty. Type "ready for elevation" in the comments if you recognize that true growth might require leaving behind what once felt essential. Let's explore why procrastination disguised as waiting for the right time silently steals more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. The most dangerous word in the language of achievement isn't failure, it's later. This revelation transforms everything. What appears to be a harmless postponement is actually the silent assassin of potential. Later isn't a neutral scheduling decision. It's the graveyard where dreams are quietly buried without the ceremony of a proper funeral. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that procrastination doesn't announce itself as the enemy of your future. It presents itself as the reasonable protector of your comfort. The journey reveals this pattern with stunning clarity. While you're perfecting your plan, someone else is already executing theirs. While you're waiting for better circumstances, someone else is adapting to current ones. While you're researching every possible contingency, someone else is learning through direct experience. This isn't about comparison, it's about the universal law that governs achievement. Motion creates opportunity, hesitation eliminates it. Behind every regret lies this fundamental truth. Time passes regardless of how you use it. The minutes, hours, and days you postpone action aren't stored in a vault for future use. They vanish permanently, taking with them the compound interest they might have generated. Toward your vision, what masquerades as prudent patience is often destruction disguised as comfort, stealing irreplaceable momentum that could have carried you toward your goals. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the hidden revelation that liberates high achievers from paralysis. The breakthrough that changes everything is this: the conditions will never be perfect. This isn't pessimism, it's liberation. The person waiting for all obstacles to disappear, all doubts to resolve, and all plans to reach completion before taking action has fundamentally misunderstood the mechanics of achievement. The transformation begins when you embrace uncertainty as the arena where greatness is forged, not the enemy of progress. Every significant breakthrough in human history, scientific discoveries, artistic masterpieces, revolutionary businesses, personal transformations emerged not from perfect conditions, but from imperfect action in the midst of uncertainty. The winners aren't those who eliminated all risk before moving. They're those who developed the courage to take steps before seeing the entire path. This perspective reframes fear from a warning signal to an indicator of growth opportunity. When fear whispers persuasive reasons to wait, the achiever recognizes this voice not as protection, but as resistance to necessary expansion. The uncomfortable truth is that clarity doesn't precede action, it emerges from it. The path forward only reveals itself to those already in motion, making the first step an act of faith that subsequent steps will become visible once you're moving. Consider the revelation that fundamentally alters how high performers approach uncertainty. They don't eliminate it, they develop a relationship with it. They train themselves to function effectively while carrying doubt rather than waiting for doubt to disappear. They make peace with the discomfort of not knowing every detail before beginning. This capacity to act decisively with incomplete information becomes one of the most powerful competitive advantages in any field. Share embracing imperfect action in the comments if you recognize that waiting for perfect conditions is actually stealing your most precious resource, time. Let's explore why the myth of overnight success blinds most people to the true power of consistent small actions compounded over time. The most profound revelation that separates dreamers from achievers is this: clarity doesn't appear magically while you're standing still, it emerges directly from motion. This perspective transforms everything. You don't stumble upon success through contemplation alone. You collide with it by moving forward deliberately, even imperfectly. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that action isn't merely the implementation of clarity, it's actually the catalyst that creates it. The journey reveals this counterintuitive truth. Only after you begin moving does the path forward become visible. The writer discovers their voice not through endless planning, but through the act of writing. The entrepreneur finds their market not through perfect forecasting, but through real-world testing. The artist develops their style not through theorizing, but through creating. This pattern repeats across every domain of human excellence. Action precedes clarity, not the other way around. Behind every significant breakthrough lies this fundamental principle. When you act, you force life to respond. This isn't mystical thinking, it's practical reality. Doors open because you knocked on them. People notice because you made yourself visible. Opportunities emerge because you created movement that intersected with them. The universe doesn't reward passive waiting. It responds to active energy that disturbs the status quo and creates new possibilities through its very motion. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by exposing perhaps the most destructive myth in the pursuit of achievement. The illusion of perfection. The revelation that liberates extraordinary performance is recognizing that perfection doesn't exist in the right direction. It's merely a concept that the winners in any field aren't those who planned flawlessly, but those who started imperfectly and improved continuously through iteration and repetition. The transformation begins when you embrace this liberating truth. Every meaningful journey is fundamentally a process of starting poorly and getting better. The master painter began with crude drawings. The virtuoso musician started with fumbling notes. The visionary entrepreneur launched with flawed products. What separated them from countless others wasn't innate perfection. It was their willingness to begin before they felt ready and improve through direct experience rather than theoretical preparation. This perspective completely reframes how you view imperfect action. The small step you take today, however flawed, however uncertain, however incomplete, holds more potential energy than a lifetime of perfect plans that remain unexecuted. The draft you write with obvious weaknesses still moves you forward more than the flawless manuscript that exists only in your imagination. The business you launch with imperfections still creates momentum that theoretical planning never will. The journey toward mastery reveals the hidden truth. What appears as natural talent in others is almost always the result of countless imperfect attempts refined through persistent iteration. Behind every overnight success stands someone who was willing to be embarrassingly bad before becoming impressively good. They understood that the pathway to excellence isn't avoiding mistakes, but using them as the essential feedback mechanism that guides improvement. Comment, progress over perfection if you're ready to embrace imperfect action as the true catalyst for growth. Let's explore why readiness is a dangerous illusion that keeps most people permanently trapped in preparation mode. The most dangerous myth that keeps potential locked in permanent hibernation is the illusion of readiness. This revelation transforms everything. Nobody, not a single person who has ever achieved greatness, felt completely ready before they began. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that readiness isn't a prerequisite for action. It's the direct result of it. The transformation begins the moment you understand that preparation and readiness are fundamentally different concepts. One happens before the battle, while the other can only be forged within it. The journey reveals this pattern consistently. The skills, confidence, and clarity you're waiting to feel before starting can only be developed through the very action you're postponing. It's the ultimate catch-22 of achievement. You won't feel ready until you've done it, but you can't do it until you feel ready. The breakthrough comes from breaking this circular logic by accepting a fundamental truth. Readiness is built in the battlefield, not in the barracks. Behind every extraordinary accomplishment stands someone who stepped into territory for which they weren't fully prepared. They didn't overcome fear before acting, they developed courage through action. They didn't eliminate uncertainty before beginning, they cultivated clarity through forward movement. The revelation that liberates your potential is that throwing yourself into the fire of action isn't reckless. Abandon is the only legitimate path to genuine readiness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the physics of achievement that most never harness. The transformation that changes everything is understanding that momentum doesn't appear magical. It begins with a single, often unremarkable step that few ever witness. This step creates a subtle shift that, while nearly imperceptible at first, contains the seed of unstoppable force. The revelation that separates achievers from dreamers is recognizing that when you take action today, tomorrow's action becomes incrementally easier. This isn't motivational theory, it's psychological reality. The first workout might feel excruciating, but the second contains slightly less resistance. The first page might be agonizing to write, but the second flows with marginally more ease. These microscopic improvements compound over time, gradually transforming what once required immense willpower into something approaching automatic behavior. This perspective fundamentally alters how you view the significance of beginning. Each action you take doesn't just accomplish the immediate task, it simultaneously lays foundational wiring in your neurology that makes subsequent actions more accessible. The first step isn't merely symbolic, it's a catalyst that begins a chemical reaction of momentum, creating energy that wasn't previously available. The journey toward mastery reveals the hidden truth. Action compounds just like financial investments. Small, consistent deposits of effort accumulate interest over time, eventually reaching a tipping point where progress accelerates beyond what deliberate effort alone could produce. The force of momentum begins carrying you forward even when motivation fluctuates, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of progress that approaches inevitability. Yet this entire transformative process remains theoretical until you cross the most critical threshold, starting. All the potential momentum, all the compound interest of action, all the eventual ease of progress, none of it materializes until you take that initial step, however small or imperfect it might be. Type "breaking inertia today" in the comments. If you're committed to taking that critical first step, rather than waiting for readiness that never comes, let's explore why success isn't built through dramatic breakthroughs, but through the consistent application of daily disciplines that most people underestimate. The grand illusion that derails countless aspiring achievers is the myth of the overnight success, the belief that extraordinary results emerge from singular dramatic breakthroughs. This revelation transforms everything. What appears from the outside as sudden achievement is almost always the culmination of consistent, often invisible, applied over extended time. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that success isn't built through explosive moments, but through the steady fire of daily discipline that most people underestimate or abandon entirely. The journey reveals this pattern with remarkable consistency. Behind every sudden breakthrough stands someone who labored diligently in obscurity, showing up day after day when there was no external validation, no obvious progress, no evidence their efforts would ever bear fruit. They understood intuitively what most never grasp: that greatness isn't forged in grand gestures, but in relentless daily steps that compound over time into extraordinary.
All right, nobody in here, so good time to fail on out.
Reframes how you approach achievement, rather than waiting for inspiration to strike like lightning or for the perfect